It's NFL draft day, and big media has been dropping mock drafts like crazy on Twitter. I pulled a bunch of them, and we're going to review them, go over the picks, see if big media actually has some intel, see the trends, go over the picks on a lot of these mock drafts from your favorite analysts, talk some ball on these players, talk some ball on what could potentially happen from reviewing these mock drafts, talk about older drafts and how things changed from the mock drafts to what actually happened when we got deked out like last year when Michael Penix went in the first round, surprising everybody. But there's a lot to cover right now. Before we dig in, though, you need to click that subscribe button right now. We're covering the draft every day. We're going to be going hot and heavy on the top picks right after they happen with reactions. For your Dynasty Fantasy Football teams, we're going to be doing rankings all weekend long. We're going to help you out with your rookie drafts. This is going to be the place to be. Click that button, stop missing out. But come back to this and look at these after the draft or after today. But Mike Mayock's draft right here on the Michigan Tricks Me draft or whatever. First pick, Cam Ward. And we're going to see this everywhere. We've been seeing this. Travis Hunter locked in with the Browns. Abdul Carter to the Giants. Where's Shedeur Sanders? Where's Shedeur Sanders in this mock? Will Campbell going to the Patriots. Ashton Jeanty going to the Raiders at 6. Jalen Walker going to the Panthers. Campbell going to the Saints. Tyler Warren falling to the Bears. Then making that selection. They have a good position to make a luxury pick with one of their first 3 picks in the first 2 days of the draft. Rounds 1 and 2. They got 2 picks in round 2. So they could spring for this. And he's a big-time upgrade over Cole Kmet. So I'm not going to argue against that. Jahdae Barron, we know he's going to get drafted high. One of the top corners in the class. Matthew Golden to the Dallas Cowboys. A lot of rumors that they're going to address the wide receiver position, running back position. And they are a team that likes to go boring too and take those meat and potato positions. They could go offensive line here, defensive line. Defense is very heavy and saturated. Wide receiver drops off immensely after the first round when it comes to talent. If they do not take a wide receiver in the first round, they're going to be screwed and they're not going to have anything to upgrade with. Gray Zabel jumping the board here. And what I've been saying in our mock drafts is Gray Zabel is an offensive lineman that you can move all the way up and down the line, and he's going to be a starter for a long time. Colston Loveland going to the Colts. I don't have him graded too far off from Warren, and in some ways he could be better. Mike Green going to the Falcons. I can't see him falling too far. He's a big-time prospect, good motor. James Pierce to the Bengals, just getting speed on that edge. Going back up to the Cards, Kelvin Banks has been a riser in a lot of mock drafts lately, but offensive tackle, we should see a heavy run at that position this year. We should see a lot of offensive tackles come off the board. But the fact that Will Johnson fell to 19 in this draft is an indicator that maybe during that workout he had about a week or so ago, maybe something did not come up too good. T-Mac falling to the Broncos. That'd be great for Bo Nix. I just see him going higher than that. Shedeur Sanders going to the Steelers. There's potential for that. There's potential he falls in this draft. There's potential he goes to the Saints. Emeka Egbuka going to the Chargers. And that's a hell of a talent going to the Chargers. Now you got him and Ladd together. That passing offense is going to get a lot better. Jackson Dart sneaking into the first round. That's something to pay attention to. And the one thing I'm going to note here, and we've been saying this all along, this draft is going to be crazy. Tonight's going to be crazy. Josh Simmons going to the Texans. That's a top 10 talent coming off a knee injury, and you're getting a knee injury discount. This is a player that's going to start for you for a long time. Malachi Starks is a hell of a get for the Ravens. Donnie E going to the Lions. That's a hell of a get. Michael Williams going to the Commanders. Shamar Stewart going to the Chiefs. Walter Nolan going to the Eagles. One thing we've been saying this whole time is good defensive players are going to be on the back end of this draft. And that pocket right there indicates that there could be a trade-up scenario for somebody being able to move up and get these players, because there's wealth there in the back end of the draft. That's what that's telling me. I'm also seeing Shedeur Sanders likely to fall in the draft. That's not hater speak. That's me looking at these mocks, looking at the rumors, looking at everything, putting the dots together. And now we're looking at Dane Brugler's draft. Look at this one. Cam Ward, Travis Hunter, Abdul Carter. Where's Shedeur Sanders? Where's he at? There's Mason Graham going to the Saints. I'm just looking for him. Derek Harmon, is he up here? Where did he get drafted? Is he a first-round selection in the draft? I don't see him. Shedeur Sanders out of the first round, Dane Brugler's draft. Will Campbell again to the Patriots. Good offensive tackle. Ashton Jeanty going to the Jaguars. Now, I've mocked that once when I'm playing around with mock drafts. A lot of people hated that. But honestly, you look at that running back core, you look at what you got at quarterback, you want to make something happen. You look at Travis Etienne, what he rushed for 3.9 yards per carry. And then Tank's not getting it done. Kelvin Banks going to the Raiders. Another indicator, Banks is rising. Banks is rising boards. And then you got Armin going to the Jets. Stud offensive tackle. Looking at more of the offensive tackles. Josh Simmons to the Texans again. Some more parodies. More parodies on the back end of the draft here. Donnie E to the Lions. Hairston to the Commanders. Malachi Starks to the Bills. Josh Connolly, offensive tackle to the Chiefs. Mike Green. I don't see Mike Green falling that far. I don't see him falling that far. But, like I said in the last draft, that defense is going to be plentiful in the back end of the first. There could be a trade-up scenario where one of these good teams just get more picks or more opportunity, or they're just going to get a damn good player going their way. Will Johnson going 23. So he's fallen in this draft. Something happened in that workout because that's what people were watching. Good, bad, or ugly. And he's falling in these mocks. And that leaked out to the media, and they're trying to figure it out. Matthew Golden to Seattle. We're watching the Cowboys. They're drafting T-Mac. So Cowboys, back-to-back wide receivers in these mocks. Let me know what you're seeing in the comments below as well. Bears, Tyler Warren again. Colston Loveland, Colts again. Jihad Campbell, top 16 pick. Moving on, Daniel Jeremiah. And he affirms what I'm saying here under me. This draft is all about fit. That's what every team keeps telling me. Rankings on these players are all over the map. Teams don't seem concerned. They like their pods of players and don't really care if their perception is a reach. That's what I've been preaching all along doing these mock drafts, because the position groups are drying up at certain spots. Offensive line, offensive tackles deeper, edges deeper, defensive lines deeper, running backs very deep, wide receiver shallow, quarterbacks very shallow. So you're going to get an interesting draft of teams jockeying for position. That's why we did all those mock drafts where we just put ourselves in the team's shoes and then went over all the scenarios and just made different picks every time. So you get a grasp of that instead of trying to guess it right, because now I'm in the position where I can look at the macroeconomics here. Texans here, Tyler Booker, top guard in the class, and they're going offensive line again. Travis Hunter to the Browns, no Shedeur Sanders. Where's Shedeur Sanders at? Where's he at? Let's see. Where's the Steelers? Not going to the Saints. Steelers is usually a likelihood in the mock drafts. Jackson Dart at 18. Am I not seeing Sanders? That is the big get. I'm not seeing him in the first round. I don't even see a Steelers pick. Am I wrong here? Donnie E to the Bengals. Emeka Egbuka to the Cardinals. Back-to-back Ohio State wide receivers. I'm not seeing the Steelers pick. So is there trades here? Will Campbell to the Patriots again. Ashton Jeanty to the Jaguars again. Now we're going down here. Tyler Warren to the Bears again. We're seeing a lot of parity. Again, look at these last picks. Donnie E to the Lions. Jahdae Barron to the Commanders. Trey Amos to the Bills. Josh Connolly. Campbell falling in this draft. So the thing is, macroeconomic perspective here. The back end of the first round, early second round is going to be jacked up with talent at defense. And it's going to be looking good. Kelvin Banks is a riser again in this mock. Trevion Henderson to the Chargers. That's a big time get there. That's another one. And we're seeing a Marion Hampton to the Rams, with the Vikings going Derek Harmon. I still don't. There's Steelers down there at 21 drafting Shedeur Sanders. For some reason, I couldn't see it. Shedeur Sanders falls to 21 in this draft. So if you're the Steelers, you don't have Aaron Rodgers right now. You may not be looking his way. You got Shedeur Sanders here with DK Metcalf. But you're getting him at 21 versus getting him at 2 like everybody was predicting the Browns would do, which was heavily thought of. And he's not going 1, he's not going 2, he's not going 3 in this mock draft. There's a lot of potential or talks that the Giants was going to pick him. And like we were saying, that could happen, but there's a highly likelihood that they were blowing smoke with all that. And if Sanders falls, you're looking at the Saints, you're looking at the Steelers at big probabilities for that if someone else doesn't trade up. Now we're looking at Peter Schrager's mock draft from ESPN, formerly from NFL Network. I kind of look at him as a company plant. I don't really think he's that knowledgeable of football as a true student of the game. More of like a guy that relays news. So I don't hold this to standard, but I also look at this as possible intel. So Cam Ward, Travis Hunter, Abdul Carter. Fall in line with everybody else, which he might be just doing that. Will Campbell to the Patriots again. Ashton Jeanty again to the Jaguars. You're seeing this pattern. Come back to this video and point out what they were wrong at. Tyler Booker to the Cowboys. I've been saying this a lot. A lot of mock drafts had Tyler Booker out of them. Well, we had 2 of them so far with Tyler Booker in it. Tyler Booker is a tier difference from the other guards, and one of these teams are just going to make that move. Interior offensive lineman, he's a nasty guy. Going down here, Colston Loveland to the Colts. Michael Williams to the Saints. Going for the Steelers, and they're getting Shedeur Sanders. Shedeur Sanders again to the Steelers. Shedeur Sanders probably to the Steelers or Saints. It really depends. Both of them at quarterback. They're got to make an address there. They got to make an address there. And the Steelers are more needy than the Saints, but the Saints are pretty needy as well. Dolphins going Mason Graham. That's a hell of a talent. Mason Graham falling that far to the Dolphins is highly unlikely to me from what I've been doing. Tyler Warren to the Jets. That makes sense. He's been mocked there a lot, and that is an open opportunity. Calvin Banks, a riser. He was in the back in the first. He's fallen in second, a lot of mocks. Giad Campbell, Gray Zabel. He's a steady offensive line prospect. Going down here, Texans go Donovan Jackson. Jackson Dart to the Giants. So potential trade-up opportunities. And there's potential trade-up opportunities in the back end of the second round. Shamar Stewart going to the Commanders. And let's look at the back end here. Will Johnson somehow falling. Again, Will Johnson is a big-time talent. Something happened in that workout. All the mock drafts have him falling right now. Maybe they're wrong. Maybe they are. They also got Marion Hampton going to the Vikings. That has been mocked a lot. They do have an open spot at running back, but they've also made moves at running back to where they can wait a little bit, just patch up the back end, and still get a guy on that back end draft slot, second, third, fourth round, that could be a potential starter. But you're looking here. You got Josh Simmons falling to the Ravens. After that, Will Johnson, Shamar Stewart, Malachi Starks, James Pierce, Maxwell Harrison. There's a pocket right there of value. There's a pocket right there in value. And then you look at the teens and the back end towards the 10 spot. You also got like good player pools where you're going to incite some movement here. Like the offensive tackles aren't going to fall. There's going to be a run on that. You're going to have to jockey for position to get the wide receiver you want. Like once T-Mac comes off the board, which could be earlier than 19, you're going to see teams jockey in position for wide receiver. You're going to definitely see that because once you get to the second round, it's slim pickings. Now Chris Collinsworth's mock draft here. I think he had some trades. The Bears going up to 5 to get Ashton Jeanty. There's a lot of rumors for that. Shedeur Sanders going to the Saints. Start is up to par. Cam Ward, Travis Hunter, Abdul Carter. Let's look at the back end here. Very similar to other drafts. Players falling, good talent here. Offensive line a little bit heavier, but I think offensive tackle is where the reaches are going to be. Remember what Daniel Jeremiah said? I'm thinking offensive tackle, that's more of a premier spot. Edge, offensive tackle, that could potentially happen. Zabel, and then Irsay from Minnesota, but then you got Mike Green, James Pierce, Nick Amawari. Those are guys I don't see really falling that far, especially Mike Green. James Pierce might, but I have him held higher regards than 30. That would be a huge get for the Bills or any team in that spot. Looking at what the Texans do, and they're getting Emeka Egbuka in this mock. I think if offensive lines fall in this way, they're going to make that pick at offensive line. Especially got Kelvin Banks, Zabel, Irsay. They're going to go offensive line there, and I think those picks are going to bump up. I think when you look at this mock, offensive line is too light. Will Campbell goes 12 to the Cowboys. Josh Simmons at 13. Hell of a talent. He's going off those PFF grades from when he was healthy. He's going off those PFF grades. Mason Graham falling. Is Mason Graham going to fall due to the craziness? Because that's going to be a hell of a player to get out of value. Jay Barron comes to the Raiders. The Raiders getting sniped by the Bears. Raiders getting sniped by the Bears here. Jaguars going Walter Nolan. That's a hell of a get. Jack Campbell going to the Niners. But the one thing I definitely say, this is going to be a crazy draft. Next one, Yates and Kiper. Kiper stops mocking pretty early. And I think that's to protect him, because you put out a mock recently, or one might come out pretty soon. And I may be too early or jumping the gun. But I think they protect him because the draft could go away. Remember, Michael Penix wasn't projected to be a first rounder. A couple years ago, we had like 3 or 4 quarterbacks projected to go in the first round. Only one, Kenny Pickett, got selected. And it could be this way in this year's draft. Media is up to par to each other. It's a lot of parity. Cam Ward, Travis Hunter, Abdul Carter, Will Campbell. Mason Graham, though, staying up with the Jaguars. Ashton, Jeanty going to the Raiders. That all makes sense if everything stays the same, if there's no trades. Remember, they're going back-to-back with picks here, so no trades involved. Looking at the back end of the draft here, because we do got to trade. We do got to trade. So, Michael Williams, Jackson Dart, Trey Amos, Josh Connerly, Jack Campbell. Going Dart and Travis Hunter, though, I think that'd be a big win for your draft. Dart at a cheaper price than the 102. And Travis Hunter, I think we're going to get away from this year's draft and be like, that guy should have been first pick overall easy, considering he played both ways. Abdul Carter going to the Giants. That's a smart move. Where's Shedeur going? Where did he go? Where is the Saints? He's going to the Saints. So it's about 50-50 Saints versus Steelers, Shedeur Sanders. Other places that you're not thinking of, like say the Saints pass on Shedeur Sanders, why can't the Colts do that? They're not all the way in on Anthony Richardson. No one's going to be all the way in on Daniel Jones. You got those two battling it out for 2025. Now you got him at 14 here, which right now is not a horrible price tag compared to the 102. You got him as a developmental prospect, and he might gel well on that team with the wide receivers they got. That's another possibility. Falcons got Michael Penix, Kyler Murray to the Cardinals, Joe Burrow to the Bengals. Seattle. Now I'm looking at ways to get surprised, not trying to have a take, not having a stance. Seattle could surprise you. Bucks, they got Baker. Bo Nix to the Broncos, no. Steelers, highly likely. Chargers, no. Packers, no. Vikings, no, because they got J.J. McCarthy. Texans, no. Rams, maybe. Matthew Stafford's not getting any younger. This could be your contingency plan at the right price if he falls to the Steelers. They could go up to 20 or something. Am I predicting that? No. Don't hate in the comments. Ravens, no. Detroit, no. Browns, back up. Potentially. Giants, back up. Potentially. That could potentially happen. Bills, no. Chiefs, no. Eagles, no. So we got some candidates. Odds are, when we're looking at this, Saints, Steelers, and they're in slots where if you want to get them, you're going to trade up. And there's potential for that. And there's some outliers. And Michael Penix was an outlier last year. Who's going to be the outlier this year? We're looking at offensive line. Looking at that. And it's pretty heavy in their mock. It's looking different because it's printed out differently to me. I think it's a little light. Actually. I said it was heavy. Now I'm retracting that. I think it's a little bit light. I think offensive tackle is going to be a little bit deeper. I think the offensive tackle runs are going to make things crazy. I think that's what's going to happen here. They got the Texans going T-Mac. T-Mac's not falling to 25. And after they select, there's Josh Connerly. There is a dip on offensive tackle, but I feel like one's falling in the second round that shouldn't be. I feel like that's happened. I don't think Yates I think he's more knowledgeable than like Peter Schrager, that guy. But I feel like he's a little bit light in the pants when it comes to overall prospect analysis, because he also does fantasy. He's a little too stretched out. That's the ESPN way. Just stretch out your analysts too far out to where they're not subject matter experts in really anything, and they just know a little bit of everything. And that's every single one of them. I get that with Phil Yates. Your only subject matter expert here is Mel Kiper, but he's been in the game so long that he's washed, and it's just old hat with him. But still, those are the mock drafts. That's what we're looking at right now. This video ran a lot longer than what I expected, but it's very important to note, it's going to be crazy tonight. That's my main take. It's going to be crazy tonight. Expect trades. Expect something to happen on the back end of that first round. Expect the early to second round to be very juicy. Expect something with Shedeur Sanders. Looks like the media is in lockstep with the first 4 picks, if not more. That's something to notice there. And that could just come off the board. Boom, 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 boom. Let me know what you think in the comments below. Make sure to hit that subscribe button on the way out. One thing for watching. Catch you on the next video.